Thank you for being here. Woo! Make some noise. Yay! Woo! And we're just really excited to be here to talk about dark academia. So we were like wearing like, I don't know, all sorts of like outfits and very like, I was trying to go like for a Wednesday vibe. I don't know why, you know, like I won't dance today. So today I say, I mean, maybe later. Who knows? I'm just really excited to be here and what an honor to be with you, Mariko and El here in the stage. It's just really, really, really great. And for the next hour, well, actually for the next, I don't know, like 50 to 45 minutes, because you're gonna get a Q&A for the last 15 minutes, and after 5 p.m. that's gonna be your book signing. So if you wanna read it, well, hopefully a lot of you have read the book already, but if you haven't, go ahead and buy it so they can sign it for you at 5 p.m. after this battle. So your stories are super cool, and I was telling them it's like National Book Festival is so amazing that they put together these amazing authors, because your books, your novels, and the themes are so amazingly intertwined and weaved together. They're so cool. Like topics from far away from home, boarding school, or internado, like we say in Spanish, or roommates who might be or not in trouble, I don't know, grief, romance, drugs, murders. I'm listing a bunch of themes. Queerness, which is so cool, dark past, in a cold place. People are freezing in the novels. And secrets, there's an abusement in both of them. I'm not doing spoilers, I promise you. And people trying to hide the truth. Dark forest, hold on. Tons of threads, everyone, tons of threads. So I was reading through this, like, oh, this is amazing. But to start us off, why don't you tell us a little bit, like in your own words, what is your novel about, so we can convince everyone to go and buy it right now.
Okay, hello, my name is Elle Gonzalez Rose. I am the author of The Girl You Know. The elevator pitch is that it is about an identical twin who takes her identical twin sister's place at her elite boarding school to find her killer. That's just a short little bit to entice you, but really it's a story about academia, the faults of academia, dark academia, some might say. There's quite a bit of queer romance here. There's mystery. It's about a character who really doesn't have a place in standard academia and about her navigating her way through it, and it's very inspired by my experiences in college, and I wrote it essentially for kids who feel like they're keeping a secret at school. They feel like they don't belong and someone's going to find them out and kick them out, except in this one she literally is not supposed to be there. She snuck in.
So this Place Kills Me is by myself and the illustrator Nicole Gu, who's an amazing illustrator. It's about a girl named Abby Kita. It's set in the 80s. It's about a girl named Abby Kita who goes to this very prestigious private boarding school, which is kind of like one of those snotty places where everybody knows everybody and there's no new kids. So she ends up being kind of the weird new kid that nobody likes. And she's pretty much hating everything until she goes to the production of Romeo and Juliet and ends up befriending the woman who plays Juliet, Elizabeth. And so just when she thinks she's finally found a friend and she's finally found someone at school who's not the worst person in the world, the next day Elizabeth is found dead. And that's not a spoiler, it happens like in the first chapter. And then everybody is very clear that Elizabeth killed herself because of this boyfriend. Like everyone wants to paint her as this tragic figure, and Abby's the only person at school seemingly who thinks that that's not true. So she ends up investigating, and people hate her even more because she's investigating this thing. And yeah, I think I wrote it because I think the sort of like active rebellion is this, pushing back, especially at school, against this thing that everybody determines to be true about who you are and who you should be. So I do think that it's kind of a relevant active rebellion now.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, both of them are investigating, right? Which is pretty cool, because it's one of those, like both of the books is like that they don't let you sleep. You're gonna have to keep reading and reading because you wanna know, right? And you already talked a little bit about your inspiration that you were in college. Can you speak a little bit more about the inspiration of both of the novels, please?
Yeah. So I can elaborate a little bit more. There were a lot of different pieces of different ideas that I had for a thriller. I started off my career writing romance, and I always knew I was going to write thriller, because for me, I'm like, when I'm writing a romance, I have to be reading a thriller. So I knew that at some point I was going to write a thriller so I could read romance again. So it really started, no spoilers, I had the idea for what the ending was, and I don't know why. I've written about twins in like, I think I have 6 books now, and I think I've written about it in 4. Four of them have twins. I'm not a twin. I just think
man.
I was like, I think they're really interesting. But I was really fascinated by this idea of twins switching places. And with dark academia, I love dark academia as a genre, but I, as a person, have always had this complex of like, oh, I'm not a very intellectual person. I'm not very into philosophy. I'm not very into the world of academia. I could never write dark academia because I feel like that's kind of, when you write a dark academia, it has to be about academia. So then this nugget of an idea of like, what about someone who's actually not meant for academia and they kind of get thrust into this world? What does that look like when they are truly an outsider in so many different ways? So that combined with this twin idea, because I was like, that's how she gets in there, combined with, no spoilers, the ending, was the birth of this book. And I usually am not the best at first chapters, I'll admit that. But this first chapter, I wrote it just kind of out of nowhere. I did not know what the plot of the book was. Like, if you ask me now what the original idea of what I thought this book was going to be, it's completely different. It was a paranormal mystery. There were like secret societies and cults and like rituals and whatnot. That is not what this book is. I just wrote this like 3,000 word first chapter in like an hour after work because I just felt who this character was, Luna, who's the main character of this book. And that first chapter has pretty much never changed with the exception of just taking out a couple of lines. So I think really in the end, when it came to developing the story, it was all these different pieces of an idea, but what really led me through developing it into the book that it is the main character, Luna, because I knew who she was the minute I started writing the book.
And the cool thing is about Luna and Sol. That's the name of it. And they're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
so cool.
So it's Luna and Solina, twin sisters. Yeah.
What about you, Mariko? Cuéntame.
I think, as someone who writes YA, I write a lot about hating high school. And I did hate high school. I thought it was pretty horrible. I think the thing is I hated high school. I hated high schoolers. I'm okay with them now. But I really felt like, you're sort of trapped in this building with all these people who can just kind of pick at you all day, and you're not allowed to do anything about it, legally. And I just felt like, I had a very clear sense. Like, I feel like I read Lord of the Flies, and I felt like I related so heavily to Piggy. I was like, and spoilers, Piggy dies, So I was always like, man, I'm always relating to this person who's kind of like doomed. And I just thought it would be interesting to write something with a character who, unlike me, just refused to be kind of cowed by everything that's going on with everybody else. And I think murder mysteries have a kind of great precedent for, the sort of Miss Marples who are like, no matter, you can tell Miss Marple till you're blue in the face that she's wrong, and she's like, okay, like you just keep talking, whatever, I don't care. And I just wanted to write somebody who had that kind of resilience and to sort of explore that as opposed to just like hating high school. And I think there aren't a lot of graphic novel murder mysteries, which I found out later is because they're incredibly hard to write. And so good luck to you if you want to do it. It took me forever. But I just thought that would be an interesting challenge to kind of do something I had never done with a character and do something I had never done with the medium that I love so much. I think also because I write Batman, and she's kind of like Batman. I kind of made a teen YA character kind of Bruce Wayne-esque. So that was also, weirdly, Bruce Wayne and also my hatred of high school kind of made this book.
I love that combination.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Because for me, it was a little triggering because I was that person, like outsider, coming from a different school to a high school that everyone knew each other. They were rich. I was not. So
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God. So it was so triggering that in the sense when I was reading both of the books, and I was reading one time both at the same time. So both of you, because I'm blaming you.
Yeah.
Like you snuck into my dreams. So I was having this vivid dream that I went back to high school, but ay, Dios mío. But get this. So I was in boarding school, like or internado, how you say in Spanish. And I was trying to solve a murder mystery, right?
Really?
Yeah, I was trying to solve a mystery, but instead of being a teenager, I was an adult trying to be a teenager. Have you ever watched Never Been Kissed? Yeah, like that. And I was like trying to be young. So it was really weird. It
I
was
mean,
so weird.
I dream about high school all the time, and in all of my dreams, I get there and they're like, by the way, this whole school is German, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? Like, so I'm like, I figure out, I'll speak German. I'll just speak German, and in my brain, I'm like, we're gonna have to figure this out. Like, I always wake up super stressed.
But do you speak German in your
Not
dreams?
at all.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah. But in your dreams, do you speak German?
No.
Oh, okay. Because,
In my
you know-
dreams, I'm like frantically with the dictionary, like, I got it. 1 second.
No, because sometimes in our dreams we can do like the wildest thing,
Yeah.
you know. But I wanted to ask you about that. I wanted to ask you about dreams or nightmares. When you were writing this book, what kind of dreams do you get besides, I don't know, if you're like nightmares about high school again? I don't know. Tell me about dreams and nightmares.
I mean, I think my theory is that writers dream incredibly complex plots. Like, I feel like in my dreams, I'm always trying to like figure something out, and there's always something in the way of figuring it out.
There are subplots in my dreams.
Yeah, like I sometimes I will dream that I'm like in something, and I'll be like, this show sucks. Who is writing this show? And I'll be like, sort of like, can I speak to the writer? Like, it's very. But I do think that writers, especially when you're in script or when you're outlining, I do think your dreams get pretty, like, it's just like, you know, it's like the cupboard full of cable cords where you're like, somewhere in here is the cord that I need, and it's like in with all this other stuff, and you have to like pull it out.
Yeah. I will say, so I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, so my nightmares about high school are just that there are boys around. I'm like, oh, what do you mean? There's only one bathroom. What are we gonna do?
Yes.
So I think like I really like when I'm writing a book, I try to immerse myself in who the character is because I like for the most part only write in first person present. So I try to understand who these characters are and try to understand their voice. So with Luna, who is like the polar opposite of me in terms of voice, I was so in it that I feel like I kind of dreamt like her in that my dreams were like, time to go to work. Like, it was like, she's a waitress, she's just hustling, she does not go to school, she is the breadwinner for her and her sister. So I think that was the mode that I was in. I was back to being a waitress, and I was just thinking about all the mistakes I had made, like all the sweet potato fries that I forgot to deliver to the table. Like, those were the kinds of dreams that I was having. It was just anything that she would have thought about. So, but weirdly, I think during the day, I was in her mindset so much that I was a little unpleasant to be around. So apologies to my friends and family who had to kind of be around me when I was acting as if my twin sister had been murdered and I'm trying to solve it.
So you became Luna.
I am Luna, yes, deep down.
Wow. Did you become Batman in your real life? Like, yeah, kind of.
A little bit. I was like, you know, when you walk by, you're like looking at buildings, and you're like, you know, someone's like, what are you looking at? And you're like, how would you get down from that building? If you had to say jump, like, how would you do that? And they're like, are you going to? And you're like, I mean, I'm not, but Bruce will, so I just want to know.
I thought you were going to say, I'm Batman. That's so cool. You know, like, it's just like we're actors, you know, it's a type of performance writing kind of thing. Right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you run the dialogue. Like, I always say dialogue out loud.
Oh, me too.
So that you can sort of, like, run through it, and then, like, so you have, like, from outside the room, you just hear like a conversation happening, but it's just you, and you're like, I wouldn't even do that. Yes, you did. No, you didn't.
I get actors in. I'm like, okay, you're gonna play this role, and then if they don't read it the way I like wrote it, I'm like, no, like we're workshopping it.
Yeah.
And doesn't happen like with your partners that, for example, for me, and I don't know if this is too personal or not, that I'm like looking at the ceiling, like talking to myself, and kind of like just doing the dialogue, and then he comes, is like, what are you doing? I'm writing, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Does that ever happen? Okay, tell me. Yeah.
My partner is a writer, so it actually helps that she knows what's going on. I do think it's kind of like, you know, there's no, like when the blank look crosses your face, she's like, where are you? Yeah. And you're like, I'm in a private school and everyone's mean to me and I have to go to school again. And no, I think it's such a weird internal process that I think it's odd for anybody who doesn't have any access to that to be around somebody who is doing that as much as we are.
Yeah. I find I make a lot of very concentrated faces, and so I think my partner knows not to come in the room if I'm like, that means it's like in writing mode. But like for me, I think it's a lot of shouting across the room because it's like my office is here and then my partner's office is here. hallway in the middle, just me yelling like, "What is a word that means this,
Yes.
this, and this?" I was like, because he has a much more expanded vocabulary than I do. So I
Yeah,
was
give
like,
me 3 words for
yes,
angry.
yes, exactly. I was like, I'm saying this word too much. Like
Yeah.
it's like walking. Essentially, my partner is my thesaurus.
Yes.
That's so interesting because sometimes, Spanish is my first language. It's like, how do you say that word either in Spanish or English? Just give me something. The
Yeah.
thing that is over there, that is in the wall, that is like, what? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, I mean, I'm perimenopausal, so it's the same thing. You're like, what's the word for the thing? And you like push it down when you want to like turn something off. It's like a switch. Yes.
Yes.
Switch. Thank
Yes.
you.
oh, yeah. I was like, what? I don't know. That's awesome. Let's talk about titles. So your titles are like super cool. You have like striking titles, and then the title of the panel is "When Dark Academia Gets Real," right? And titles always like carry these like really layered meanings. So how do you arrive at these titles, and how do they shape the reader's first encounter to your story?
This was not called This Place Kills Me for the longest time. Actually, I think almost all, like when you go back and like look into your files for your document, I always have to remember what the original title was when I'm looking for an early draft, because it changes. I think generally speaking, I come up with a really simple title that just means the book to me. Like I'll be like High School Murder Mystery Graphic Novel. And so then I'll be like, I know what that is. And then I think one of the things, because I worked with Nicole on this, so we came up with the title together. We really wanted to have something that felt kind of 80s and that kind of like sort of Better Off Dead kind of vibe that like so many John Cusack movies had. And so that was sort of, I also think that there's something, I kind of like a dramatic title that feels like, I always like a title that feels like someone would say it. Because I'm just very dialogue oriented that way.
Oh yeah, like your character can say, "This place
This
kills
place kills me. Yeah,
Ah, okay.
exactly.
And do they say this place kills me?
I think she does kind of. I think I snuck that in there at some point in the end because we had a lot of revisions. So I might have.
Yeah, that's my favorite is when the title is in the book. It's just
Yeah.
like, oh, yes. So I'm very bad at titles. So funny story about this one is that this is the only title I was allowed to keep. So, I mean, what does that say about the title?
Yeah, and then you're like, really?
Yes, well, the whole time, a very trusted beta reader of mine read my book, gave me some incredibly valuable feedback back when it was like a very, very different book. And one of the things that they said that still sticks with me is like, I don't know about the title. And I was like, yeah, it's probably going to change. Never did.
Yeah.
So I was like, great, okay. So the title actually never changed. And the reasoning behind it, I went through like a million different iterations because I kind of, at the beginning of a book, very seldom have an idea of like where it's going. Because when I wrote this book, it's my third published book, but it was the second book that I ever wrote. And I was writing it before I even sold my first book. So that was back when I didn't really know how to outline a book the same way. So I didn't know what the book was about. I was just kind of seeing where it was going to take me. And I eventually reached The Girl You Know when I finished the draft. I figured that would be the title because it's all about Luna, the main character, going to this school and pretending, and through pretending to be her sister, Solina, she learns who she is at that school, and it's a very different person than the person that she knew. And in her grief, she's idolizing her sister. She thinks she's so intelligent. She's this amazing person. She essentially has no flaws, and she finds out that she actually does have quite a few flaws and has done quite a few things that are interesting, we'll say, at the school. And she's essentially learning that the sister that she thought she knew isn't the girl that she knew. Oh, so that's where the title came from.
I do think it's a good lesson, though, too, I think with every creative process, there's things that you hold on to, and you're like, no, this is the book.
Yeah.
This is so important. And then a year later, you're like, forget it. I don't
Yeah.
even care. Let's just go. Like,
Just go,
let's
yeah.
just, like, But it's such a battle to figure out what is the thing that you really need to hold on to, even if everybody kind of pushes back, and what is the thing that, like, I've written a prologue for almost every book I've ever written that had never made it to print. And I'm always like, this is the prologue. This is so great. And they're all like, we don't need it. And I'm like, okay, fine. But it is, like, and I think with titles was kind of how I learned that, because I've always been like, this one summer was supposed to be called Owego Beach Babies. And I campaigned for that. I was like, no, it's so funny. And everybody else was like, we don't get it. And I was like, it's kind of an inside joke. And they're like, not a great idea for a title.
It's too inside.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay.
Yeah, but I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And we were talking about also, about wealthy kids, academia, and being an outsider, finding, finding who killed, I'm not gonna tell you who, but because I mean you can. I mean Elizabeth, you already say, and the sister. Never mind. Yeah, they're finding out the murder of them, but it's also the setting that struck me like the most because it's really cool how you're setting like in different boarding school in the mountains in an environment that kills. This place kills me, right? So I see setting as kind of a character as well, like New York in Sex and the City, right? We can talk about that in another time. But
yeah.
So I want to ask you, how do you craft a sense of place so that it doesn't just frame the story, but actively influence it?
Well, because it's a graphic novel, I think part of it is that I work with the illustrator a lot on that. And I really wanted it to be in the 80s, in part because I just really wanted to look at queerness from like a perspective of the 80s when things were so different, but also the struggle is kind of similar. I think the thing about a private school is that private schools are kind of out of time. I went to an all-girls Anglican school, so kind of similar. I mean, my uniform looked exactly like that.
Mine also looked
yeah.
exactly like this.
That was my tie. But I think that they are kind of these like little bubbles of, old-timiness, right? Like the sort of values and the vibe is always like, because you're all dressed like weirdos, you're all dressed weirdos in the same way. And I think it is kind of the kind of stagnancy of it and the kind of oppression of it is such a great, the history of it is such a great setting. Mm-hmm. You're kind of surrounded by, statues and stained glass and you're at school, you know what I mean? Like it's so odd.
Yeah, I think that in a similar vein, like something I really wanted to explore is just kind of like the idea of this place that's so opulent and it's just kids at school. Like it's like there's even lines about it. It's like they've put all this money into this extremely grand place for kids who like do not care about it. And for me, I'm from the New York area, born and raised, lived there my entire life, never been to Washington where this book is set. But I was like, I just love to write about twins and places I haven't lived. But it's, I had such an unusual high school experience, and, all girls Catholic high school. So I always find that like I really enjoy writing about environments that are not like my own. So I'm learning kind of with the character, especially for someone like this who she's showing up here and she doesn't know what to expect at all. And with this particular setting, it's a town kind of that I designed, and it's on the top of a huge, huge, huge mountain and overlooks like all of this like small Washington town that I kind of crafted for this book. And the idea is that I wanted these kids who were at the top of like the social, political, everything food chains to be on top of the world, and they act like they're on top of the world because they literally are. And just showing how inaccessible this school is in every single way. You have to like take a train, to a shuttle, to this, to that, to even get to this school. It's so out of the way. And also just in terms of describing the school, I just kind of reflected on how my school was very beautiful, but it also felt very menacing at times in ways, in the sense of like looking around and feeling like this is so not what I'm used to. And everywhere you turn, there's something that you're not used to, and you feel so out of place in so many different ways, and just pointing that out by showing how much opulence there is all around her.
Yeah, I love that, and I can read it and I can feel like even there's like if a lot of like richness over there, it feels very isolating so many times, right? That's so cool. So let's talk about books that you were reading when you were writing these, or books that you will that they're in conversation with your own books. What do you want to say?
I mean, I read a lot of murder mysteries during the pandemic. I basically like scared the stuffing out of myself every night. I was just like surrounded by murderers. I only watch murderer documentaries. I'm obsessed with Mean Girls on HBO. Is anyone else watching that? It's the best. I watch a new one and then I talk to my friends about it. I really love Karen Slaughter, is like one of my favorite murder mystery writers, although she's incredibly graphic. Not recommended for younger readers. And I also, there were other books like Emile Ferris's My Favorite Thing is Monsters, which is such a great fish out of water book about being a young queer person. And she does this like incredible job of really sort of talking about like what it means to be a monster, to kind of be a monster in your own life and have that be a good thing. So that was a huge inspiration as well. And also, I mean, I earlier have started reading Leigh Bardugo's books. I'm a huge Leigh Bardugo fan. And I just loved Ninth House. I think Ninth House is maybe one of the best, like in terms of dark academia, and really like making the setting of the school in Yale, which is what the book is about, a character. She does such a fabulous job.
I'm so glad you said Karen Slaughter because I always want to say her and I'm like, oh, but they're so graphic.
They're so
They're so
graphic.
graphic. They're so good though.
They're so good.
Yeah. I would say for this book in particular, the like two blueprints for this one were Sadie by Courtney Summers, which is one of my favorite thrillers of all time. It's so fantastic. And that was the first book I read where there was a main character in a YA book who was kind of a breadwinner and a caretaker. It was not like a very typical like high school story. This was someone who was taking care of her sister and was really taking on this very adult role, but was still very clearly a YA voice and a YA story. So I was really inspired by that in combination with this Netflix show called Elite. It is a Spanish, like
my God,
telenovela.
yes.
Yes, if anyone has watched it, that was the inspiration for the rich kids, was Elite, which I was obsessed with. But then in terms of like, I just love thrillers. I love YA thrillers. She is here today. Tiffany D. Jackson is my favorite thriller. Yes, give it up for Tiffany D. Jackson. I love
She's
her.
in the audience. I'm
Yes,
just kidding.
Tiffany, stand up.
Are you here, Tiffany?
Tiffany,
No, she's not.
I love Tiffany D. Jackson. I have read all of her thrillers, and like they are just so fantastic. And then in terms of like dark academia, Ace of Spades and Where Sleeping Girls Lie by Farida Abike-Iyemide are amazing. And especially Where Sleeping Girls Lie, I read that. That kind of, I think it came out like either right before or right after The Girl You Know, and I was like, dang it! It was like they're so similar, and she did it so well. It was like made me so self-conscious. They are both just so fantastic. So I highly recommend both of them.
Yeah, I do think it's worth noting that like writers are inspired by writers, but we also just like, you know, we love lots of things, including wrecked TV. You know what I mean? Like you're like, oh no, it's all literature. No.
No,
And
no,
then
no.
you're
Elite
like,
too.
I'm only telling you my classy.
I'm like, if there's a Netflix docuseries about something horrible happening to someone, I'm like, ooh, this is amazing.
How interesting.
I love that you mentioned TV shows as well. More TV shows. Is everyone, taking notes so you can watch all of these and read all of these? Go
Mean
for it.
Girls on HBO.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
3 seasons now. It's so good.
But is it different from the? I haven't heard of it. Is it different? Is it inspired by the movie or like is it totally different
It's
thing?
it's about Mean Girl. It's about girls who kill people. I will say what it has taken from me, which I want to use in a book coming up, is the safest thing in the world to be is a boyfriend who cheats on his girlfriend. Because you are not going to get murdered for that. The girl that you cheat with will get murdered, but you are in the clear, man. You are safe. And I am going to write about that someday.
Take notes.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Inspiration happening.
Also, I don't necessarily recommend Elite. It gets real bad, like later on, as most shows do.
Well, then you can kind of avoid it a little bit. You can
Yeah.
kind of watch it while you're doing the dishes or whatever.
Exactly.
And then that's
Yes,
fine.
if you can see Spanish.
No, yeah, but I watched the 2 first seasons, and then it was like, do high schoolers really do all of that?
Oh, they do none of
Yeah.
that stuff.
Oh my
in this
God! Because it's very graphic, you know, like.
I was holding, like, my editor never called me out on it, but if there was ever going to be a moment of like, oh, I don't know that teenagers do that, I'd be like, there's this show called Elite. Like,
Go and watch it.
That's where.
We're gonna need you from the Q&A to ask a question. We call it chisme in Spanish. Maybe it's not a question, but we want to know more about what they do. Because,
yeah, yeah.
like.
Oh,
yeah.
I know.
Oh, you know?
I know.
Oh, yeah.
Teenagers tell me what they do all the time, and I'm like, I
How?
do
We-
not want to know that stuff. man.
Yeah, we're not teenagers anymore, so we
No, no,
had to
no.
use our imagination.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely not a teenager anymore.
Yeah. No, neither do I. You might be. You're the
I
closest.
like to leave a little mystery.
You're-
Maybe I am a teenager. Who knows?
You're the closest one. You're the closest one to the teenage years. Yes. So, yeah, you're gonna be the first one to share the chisme. It's okay. We're like it's not even that recorded. Oh no, yeah, it is. I'm
It
just
is
kidding.
recorded.
It's gonna be all over. Okay. So next question. So from the first part to the final draft, what part of the writing process surprised you the most about your particular books, a character, a scene, a team that reveal itself unexpectedly? I know, Elle, you were talking about like, I just wrote the first chapter. Let's see what happens. So anything unexpected that you're like, huh?
Yeah, actually, the biggest thing that changed for me, and readers have like come up and asked me about it, is that, so I'll say there's, not spoilers, there are essentially like 2 culprits in this mystery. There is, like a very standard culprit, and there is someone who is more at fault, you could say. And the person who is more at fault in this story, kind of like who winds up being like the big villain, was someone different in the original drafts of the book. And I thought it just made the most sense that this is the person in the grand scheme of things, because there are just so many different people at play in what happens to Solena, that it's not just one person is responsible. So when I wrote it, I was like, this person is the big bad. This is the person that is ultimately responsible for her dying. And not just my editor, my agent, like pretty much everyone disagreed with me. And I was like, really? I was like, I thought it was so obvious that this is the person who is the big bad here. And they were like, no, it's definitely this person. So I got talked into it. I don't disagree with it because, like I said, I think that there are multiple players here. So it's kind of like there's no wrong answer. So if you happen to have read the book and you want to know who I thought was the big bad, what they didn't change. It's just kind of like the circumstances of the ending and how we view them and how Luna views them is what's changed at the end based on other people thinking they're like, no. What this person did is worse.
I have so many follow-up questions, but I won't ask them because there's a lot of spoilers and we want you to read the book. But what about you, Michael?
I mean, I think part of writing a murder mystery is that the plot gets revised a lot. Because in part what you're doing is you're kind of like, you have to kind of create this red herring, right? Like you have to create somebody who seems very guilty who is not. And the two murder mysteries I've written, both of them I've had to like, basically write it as though one person did it and then revise it in the end and have it be someone else. In this book, we ended up revising it endlessly. Nicole was so patient, but really it was so much because you're showing everything with a graphic novel. Like you're literally seeing things on the page, and we really had to figure out this delicate balance of like hiding things in plain sight and having people know things that they didn't know. And even like there were things that, we argued with the editor about because she was like, I don't think you should do that. And we were like, that's kind of the easiest way to make this work. So it was a lot of revising. And it was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever written, was this book. Because everything is subterfuge and you literally have to take the plot and like flip it on its head halfway through. And I mean, like one thing I noticed was the characters were always very true to me. Nobody changed who they were, like you were saying, but what they did and why ended up changing a lot.
Yeah, that's also the same for me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I wanted to talk about music because I know your novel is very musical. Like, well, you
it's very mixtape oriented.
Exactly.
When I was a kid, my favorite thing was mixtapes because I'm from the 80s. And so we would make mixtapes and then you would record yourself like introducing a song. And it's like the most embarrassing audio because at the time you're recording you're like, this is really cool. And then you play it and you're like, oh my God, this is the last thing. It's not cool. It's the last thing. But I had this tape that I made with my friend when I was in high school that was us just interviewing each other. Anyway, it was a really interesting interview. I'll say that. Because we were not necessarily of sound mind. But we're just talking for like an hour, and I would play this tape over and over. I thought it was the funniest thing in the world. And I just thought, like, what? Now you have like 1,000 selfies with you and your friends. But at the time, I had like one picture of this person, and I had this tape that I would play over and over. And that tape was like such the essence of her. And so I thought that would be this idea of, having, also because when I was growing up, you had a tape. Generally, you would listen to all of REM, like you wouldn't listen to like one song. You kind of had to listen to it all. And to have that kind of world and play out that kind of world and that music that was around in the 80s. Because it was the best in the 80s. No, it wasn't. It was like, okay.
No, but what I remember as well is that, I grew up in Mexico, so we would like call the radio for a song.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happened.
Play it.
Yeah, and they will play it, and you just wait, and kind of record your song, and that's how we had music.
Yeah.
Back in the
Margaret
80s
Cho
and
has
the
this
90s.
great joke about how all of her mixtapes are her like recording a song off the radio, and the end you can hear her going like, "Mom, get out of my room!" Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so fun. But then, do you have playlists that they can listen to? So when they read your book, do you have any playlists or?
Yes, I will say a little fun fact. When I wrote that first chapter, I don't write with music anymore, but at that time I did, and I have to listen to something that like matches the vibe of whatever I'm writing. So I Googled sad song to write to, and That's how you got the first chapter.
Are you serious?
Sad song to write to. And it was so sad. Like, it actually was, it really got me. And I've searched, if you can find sad song to write to, it's like a photo of some clouds and like the trees in Washington.
You know what works really well? The Cloud Atlas soundtrack has the saddest song in it, and the whole soundtrack is variations on that song. So it's just like different versions of this heartbreaking song that just plays over and over and over again.
There's this song, it's in Arrival, and it's also in, I just watched Hamnet, the new Chloe Zhao film. It's fantastic. Please watch it when it comes out. And they both use this very sad song that it's almost like, oh, you're using that sad song, but it's so sad that it gets you every time. I'm like, I'm going to forgive you for all using the same sad song.
Like, movie soundtracks are amazing.
Oh, they're fantastic.
Man on Wire has an incredible movie soundtrack. Anything that like Trent Reznor worked on.
Oh, yeah.
Like actually, if you just Google, like there's a Reznor Atticus like playlist. That's all the soundtracks they've ever done. They have like Soul on there. They have what's the one they did about Facebook?
The Social Network?
The Social Network. So I use soundtracks all the time. Just
Transformers 3. I've
Yeah.
used Transformers
No,
3.
I
Is
mean,
that a sad song there?
No, it's just really cool. I now use it when I go to the gym. It was for when I was writing an action book at the time.
Yeah.
So it's Transformers 3, Tron. I'm like, I'll
Yeah.
use any movie soundtrack.
I'm super old, so I listen to like Prodigy all the time.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're okay.
I'm okay with it. You're okay with it.
Well, what I was gonna say is that I feel so self-conscious. There is a playlist for this book out there, but my publishing team made it because I can only think of like 5 songs because
Sad songs.
I'm so like nervous. I'm like, I like Mitski. I'm cool. Like, I feel like people are gonna judge me for my music taste, which is
No, they'll celebrate you.
so. Well, I love the song Goosebumps, the Goosebumps theme song. I listen to that a lot when I write. Actually, that and Ghostbusters, like those 2 songs. Unironically, that's like all I listen to. The Wellerman. I listen to really weird songs if I'm gonna listen to
There's
music.
the Lego movie had this song called "This Song's Gonna Get Stuck Inside Your Head" that I
yep.
listen to so often, and people would always be like, "What are you listening to?" And I'd be like, "Nothing." It's a song from the Lego movie.
Those are the songs that are not on the playlist. The cool songs are on the
Yeah.
playlist, but
The uncool book playlist is,
Yes.
is the heart, though. That's the real stuff.
that's the private on Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
That's just for me.
Okay, so then just type sad song to write.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's the playlist.
that's the playlist over there. I love that. So we actually have like 5 more minutes before we go into your questions, into the Q&A. So get ready, okay? So I wanted to ask you, because I know you write in different genres, right? What's your favorite? I'm just kidding. You don't have to.
What's the best?
What's your favorite child? Yeah, I'm just kidding. Like, it's like deciding, like it's like, no, I don't have one, but you do have one. Sometimes, Anyway, what's it, if you want to talk about like what do you enjoy about the different genres that you write, and because I know you have another book out after this one as well. So talk about a little bit about your older books, and then I'm gonna ask you a last question, and then we'll go to Q&A.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I just had another book come out in August 12th. It's called it's called Marisol Acts the Part. It's a sapphic retelling of Legally Blonde set in New York. Yeah, so very different vibe. And for me, I think the biggest thing, it's so hard to write a thriller, I think, because you spend so much time with all of these books, and I can't tell if the pacing is good. I can't tell if the mystery is super obvious, if the culprits are super obvious, because I've read it a million times and I know everything already. I'm not really discovering things along the way versus writing a romance, because it is all about the chemistry between the characters. I'm learning their dynamic as I go and as I write their conversations, because when I write, I prefer to kind of do it where I only write the dialogue and then I go back in and I shade in the physical actions. And that allows me to just kind of like understand them in the moment without thinking about the physicality of it. It's 2 very different writing processes, and just depends when you get me. I think it's
in the middle of something, you're like, the other thing is my favorite.
Yes, whichever one like right now, I'm writing a romance, so I love thrillers right now. So it's whichever one I'm currently writing, the other one is my favorite. Yeah, so
interesting.
flexing different muscles.
I've been writing TV lately, and I really love writing for television. I think because you get first of all, they pay for your lunch. And there's a snack room where you're like, I would like chips, and they're like, there will be chips there tomorrow, and so then you just like dance in there and you get chips. I like I like being able to be in a room of people and have the process be something that you're doing together. I love the sort of camaraderie of like, you're in it to win it, but you're in it with this like, crew of people. And then I like, not having my ideas batted away in a humorous way by like a bunch of people who think they're better than me. And you're like, it's my book, like I think it's good to have, I always think that writing benefits from a certain amount of restriction and freedom. I think it's really good to be able, I think a lot of writing is writing for money for other people and doing things that you have to hand in and then your boss is like, I'm not getting it, and you have to be like, okay. Versus like you are your master or, you are in charge of you when you're writing things for yourself. But I think, the truth of the matter is that if you write, you mostly write for money and you mostly do it for someone else. So I like being able to do both. I like comics mostly because I hate writing description. So that's, that's my preference. I feel like whenever I write description, I'm like, there was a door.
I would also like to say, I also work in TV. The snacks really are crazy.
It's so amazing.
Like you can get anything you want, and they just have it there.
I know.
It's crazy.
And then you get to be like, can I have a latte?
Yes, and they'll just get it for you. It's wild.
So how can I work there then? I want this next. I'll talk to you later. I love what you say, like you are your master. That's gonna be my mantra. You are your master, Ophelia. Like in front of the mirror.
Yeah, you're like, I'm my master. I'm my own master. And your editor's like, but I don't get it. And you're like, okay, fine.
Well, you're my master then.
The master has been
Then
corrected.
you're in charge. Okay, fine.
I have a last question, but please Q&A. Start like coming here. I think there's
Start
sort of,
queuing.
is this the only mic, right? There's nothing
There's
on
one
the
there
side.
too.
Okay. Oh yeah, I didn't see it. Okay, so start like coming like to the Q&A. I know many of you have questions.
Wander gracefully to the front of the room.
Yeah, the cheeseman lady. I'm waiting for you too. Yeah. So what's in the future? What other genres would you like to explore?
I mean, I'm working on a middle grade book now, and that has just been really fun. I think it's been fun sort of channeling an inner child as opposed to like an angry teenager. I really am getting into, I started watching a lot of Westerns recently, and I really love, I drive across America at least like once a year, so I would love to do something with that.
I just revealed the cover for my next thriller. It's called I Didn't Do It. It comes out in July of 2026, and it's a mixed media thriller, very campy, very fun. And Marisol Axelpart is out now. And I would love to break out into the adult world next, especially like I have this book that I call my Yellow Jackets book. And I happen to also work on Yellow Jackets, but like I worked on Yellow Jackets after I wrote the book. So I'm like, it's the world coming full circle. It's gonna happen. So if you like Yellow Jackets, in every way, every aspect of it is all I'll say. Hopefully, I'll have more news about that in the future.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Yeah, we're going to go one and one. Go for it.
Okay. Hi. I don't know if I'm close enough.
You're good.
First off, love the outfits. Absolute fashion
Thank
icons.
you.
But one thing I know about a lot of authors is they put a lot of not only their personal experience, but a lot of themselves into the characters that they create. And I just wonder, how much would, in your opinion, you say that you put yourself into your characters?
I think that you have to see who you are as a resource for yourself as a writer. And, I think that there's a lot of criticism of especially women who use that in their writing. Like, why do you always write, Japanese fat girls? It's like, because I know them so well. And I think I think also it's a thing that as you go along as a writer, I think it tends to be a huge part of your writing when you start, and then it becomes like a tool later. So I would say there's some things that have stayed consistent in terms of the identity of my characters, but I think that they've changed a lot as my career has gone on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, almost all of my characters are short queer Latinas. I wonder why.
Yeah.
But I think as you grow as a writer, you learn kind of how to do different voices. Like Marisol Axelpart is based on Elle Woods. I'm not a fashion person, despite what my cape might make you think. But I'm not into that. But I've at that point on my fourth book, I was able to understand how to get into the mind of a character that is not at all like me, and figuring out what pieces of me stay there so it still feels like a richly rendered character, but just how do you explore different voices? That's just a skill you develop, I think,
Yeah,
over time.
great question.
Yes,
Thank
excellent
you.
question.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, my question is for Mariko. I was wondering if you could speak to the process of collaboration with an illustrator and what that kind of looked like. Were they in it from the beginning? Did they wait until you received like the first draft before they were, kind of incorporating their elements into the story? What did that look like?
For this book particularly, I basically stalked Nicole Gu and was like, will you write this book with me? And because we both live in Los Angeles and we're friends, we really talked through the book. I mean, I gave her what I thought the book was about, and then we really had a lot of back and forth. I mean, it really depends on each project, but my ideal is that you are, as I was working on the script, I would turn it into her. A lot of the sort of visual things that are in the books are things that came out of discussions that we had, like this kind of chorus of gossip and stuff like that. And really, I think because your artist has to draw what you say at great expense to them physically and personally, I think it is a kind of, if things didn't make sense to her, it didn't get through. And there was a lot of, really nice dinners ruined by Nicole telling me that something didn't make sense to her. And I think it makes the book better, I'm such a huge fan of collaboration. I'm such a huge fan of working with other people. No writer is an island, so yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you like to write books about twins, but have you ever had thoughts about writing books about triplets?
Oh my
A
God!
family
Book
of
7, I figured it
triplets,
out.
so I'm curious.
That's your book.
I genuinely haven't, but you just unlocked something for me. Tell me your name later so I can make sure you're going to get credit for whatever thriller I write about triplets.
My name is Kai.
Kai,
So if
okay.
you do, mention my name.
Yes.
At the end of the book, an acknowledgement.
One of the main characters of I Didn't Do It is named Kai, so we're already ahead of the game. It was meant to be. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yay.
I have a question about graphic novels, and so what about that medium lets you do things that you love and can't do with anything else? And then what are some of the constraints that frustrate you and make you say maybe text would be better?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I write prose books just purely out of a sense of self-punishment because they take so long. I think the thing is that my partner has said many times, I like a short sentence. And I like a kind of brevity. And I think that there's a brevity that comics really works with, or the comics that I love really work with. And it really lets you do a lot with very little, and I love that. I think, all of the restrictions are, I think, part of the, everything is hard. There's just a part of comics that are hard sometimes. How much it is about space and what can happen on a page and what you can and cannot show. For a murder mystery, it was so hard. I was like, if we could just have someone say it and not have it appear in text on the page, that would be awesome. The sort of tricky things you can do in terms of perspective and point of view. But really it was just a challenge. In the end, I definitely lost a lot of hair, but I'm really happy with the result. Thank you.
Hi, this question is for any of you. Whenever I write, I'm good with characters but never plot. So do you have any advice for how you sew together loose scenes or just figure out the broad plot of a book or a chapter?
I mean, for me personally, I write, I have to have the entire book plotted from the beginning. And that's what I've learned now. I did not do that with my first book, and I did not do that when I started this one. But now, every book is a 10-page outline of everything. And even if that changes over time, for me, being able to write the book just means I need to know where it's gonna go. That's all I need to know. I can change it later. And sometimes that does mean going to my human thesaurus in the other room and being why would I do this thing? What would motivate someone to do that? And kind of thinking it out loud. So I think that the outlining process is as annoying as it is, because sometimes you just want to get in and write it, it's 2 weeks sometimes of just figuring out, okay, what am I gonna write? What am I gonna write first? And then that just has helped me so enormously to actually finish all of the books, and a lot less editing, I will say.
I mean, there's a lot of really great books that have been written about, especially for film, about kind of the key elements of plot and when things should happen in a book. And I think it's kind of good to have read those. I read them very late, and when I read them, I was like, oh, I've never done that. But I think it's good to see and kind of learn the sort of truisms of something, because then you know what to break, and then you know what you're breaking when you do. I also, like in this, I did more for television, and I think TV plots are good for this, is that watching and actually writing down what happens in a television show that's kind of close to what you want to do. Like, when do things change? When have you established something? When do you, like, you know, go against that? Like, when does the sort of pivotal plot turn happen? What does a plot turn look like? I think it's a certain amount of study that you then kind of have to forget and write what you want to write.
I will say Save the Cat in that vein is my favorite of all those books.
Yeah.
Like,
Save the Cat is good. I mean, there's a bunch of them. Like, I just watched the Pee Wee Herman documentary, and he said when they wrote their first book, they basically took out, I can't remember what there's like a book about plot by somebody. And they just wrote it to that exactly. Like, they wrote, this is how you write a movie, and then they just did the exact thing. And I think a certain amount of experimentation, if you have issues with that, is good. Cheers.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. So I am a creator as well. I've experienced like different types of mediums with art, and I know that the creative process can be very difficult at times. So my question to you is, either of you, what is your go-to thing whenever you feel like you want to just
Kill everybody.
yeah.
give up. Oh my God. Oh, that is such a good question. Oh, I think the biggest thing for me is like at this point now, I trust myself that I know like I'm gonna come back to it, and you just gotta take a break sometimes, and I'm very bad about that. But I find that every time I go and experience, like I watch a movie, even if it's really bad, especially if it's really bad, I'm like, oh, I could write something so much better than that. And it motivates me to come back, and just experiencing other art and like seeing how does that inspire me for better or for worse, and like not thinking about my own project is really, I think, the most helpful thing for me.
I mean, I think the thing that I do, this is going to feel really Lord of the Rings, okay? I leather work, okay? I do. It's also super gay that I do that. So I think the thing that I like is I will go and make something, because the thing about making something is then you finish it and it's done, which I think the thing about writing and art is that art is never done. Yeah. You're constantly just kind of like kicking against this thing that's not ever gonna, thank you, move forward. And I think going, even if it's like, sometimes I will go and do the dishes, because then you have something that needs to get done and you finish it, and you can kind of have that experience in you, which I think helps you then go back into the mess.
Gotta have hobbies.
Hobbies. Yeah. Get some beads. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like something
That's so
physical.
good.
Yeah, that was such a great question. Something physical to do, right? I was someone hiding here. That you want to ask a question? Yeah,
Last
go for it.
question.
Yeah, come.
Come on, it's like the last unicorn. You're the last question.
Oh, hi.
Thank you. I was wondering, given how much murder mysteries and thriller kind of things, there's so much material, how to kind of you avoid falling into a tropey feeling, writing style, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of just, like at one point I realized, because I write a lot of YA, that I had done a lot of proms. I've done a lot of proms, and I've done a lot of Romeo and Juliet, and I just accept that about myself. And I think you just have to know that you are doing your version of it. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's easy sometimes with tropes to get out of yourself because you know what the expectation of the trope is. And sometimes it's like, you know, you can have a prom in like Heathers, and like, or, you know, a basketball game that you blow up. Like, I think every once in a while it's worth saying, like, why am I writing this thing? Even when you get into a trope.
Yeah, I think I heard that advice quite a bit too. Like, I also write in romance, which is very, you know, trope driven, which is great. I love tropes, but at the end of the day, like, even I remember when I was querying, if you saw a book with a similar plot, at the end of the day, you have to remind yourself that it's your book. And I think especially like for a thriller, the premise of person sneaks into boarding school or person avenges person's death is like the most common thriller plot, and I have both of those in this book. But what makes it different is who this character is and what her relationship is to the person who was killed and the way that you go about the investigation and things like that. So I think it's just, how are you going to approach it? How are you going to keep it fresh? And also I think, when you're writing from your lived experience and whatnot, it's always going to be a little different than what's out there, because the next short queer Latina is not the same as me. It's like we're gonna have different experiences.
Come on.
Yeah, we're all different. So I think that's the biggest thing, is like you can lean into it, but it's always going to be your story.
Yeah.
Thank you for both your answers.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are in, like, at the end, any final writing advice for young people who are here in the audience? Any final thoughts?
Write something short. Write something short and write a bunch of short things before you try to do. Write something short that you can finish so that you can write and have it actually be finished and you can work on it and like polish it like a diamond, because novels are long. They take a long time and they take a long time to do well. So if you're starting, do something short.
I wish I followed that advice. It would have saved me a lot of time. I will say, write about what you're passionate about and always write what feels true to you. I started writing fan fiction. If you're out there, you're writing fan fiction, yes, that all counts as experience. And you're gonna spend so much time with this book. And the first book that I ever wrote, I was gonna try to write something else, something that didn't feel like an L book, for lack of a better word, because it felt like something that would get published. And I'm glad that I didn't, because ultimately I'm very proud of my first book. And it can feel very tempting when you're trying to get yourself out there to write like what seems popular or something like that, follow a trend that feels like maybe a trend you don't feel strongly about. But at the end of the day, it has your name on it. It should be something that you feel very strongly about. And I cannot stress enough how much time you're gonna spend editing. I spent like 3 years with this book. And it should always be something that you feel genuinely proud of. All my characters are Latin because that's what's important to me, and that means that there's a piece of me in every single book, and it just means that you're going to feel confident in the final product.
Amazing. Thank you
Thank you,
so
everybody.
much. Thank you, everybody.